Hello, and welcome to Adventures with Grandma Bonnie on YouTube. Today we're going to share with you the classic Brothers Grimm fairy tale, Hansel and Gretel. Please sign in to your free YouTube account and watch the video all the way to the end. You never know what might happen. Please hit the like button and subscribe at any time. We would love to read your comments. When Hansel and Gretel are left in the dark forest, they must rely on each other's courage and cleverness to survive. Their discovery of a magical gingerbread house seems like a dream come true until they meet its wicked inhabitant. This suspenseful adventure teaches valuable lessons about sibling bonds, quick thinking, and never giving up hope. Let's get started. A poor woodcutter, his two children, and their stepmother lived in a great forest. The boy was called Hansel and the girl Gretel. They had little to eat and much work to do. When great hardship fell on the land, the father could no longer provide food, not even daily bread. The father thought this over at night in his bed and tossed about in his anxiety. He groaned and said to his wife,
"What is to become of us? How are we going to feed the children? We no longer have anything, even for ourselves."
"I'll tell you what. Early tomorrow morning we will take the children out into the forest to where it is the thickest. We will light a fire for them, give each of them one piece of bread. Then we will go about our work and leave them alone. They will find a kind person to care for them."
"No, I will not do that. I cannot bear to leave my children alone in the forest."
"Oh, you fool! Then we will all go hungry." She left him no peace until he consented. That means she nagged and nagged at him.
But I feel very sorry for the poor children all the same.
The two children had also not been able to sleep for hunger and had heard what their evil stepmother had said to their father. Gretel wept bitter tears and said to Hansel, "It's all over for us now."
"Don't worry, Gretel. I will find a way to help us."
When everyone else had fallen asleep, Hansel got up, put on his coat, opened the door, and crept outside. The moon shone brightly, and the white pebbles that lay in front of the house glittered like silver coins. Hansel stooped and stuffed the pockets of his coat with as many as he could get in. Then he went back and said to Gretel,
"Be comforted, dear little sister, and sleep in peace."
He lay down again in his bed. The next day, before the sun had risen, the woman came and awoke the two children. "Get up, children. We are going into the forest to fetch wood." She gave them each a little piece of bread. "Here is something for your dinner, but do not eat it before then, for you will get nothing else." Gretel tucked the bread under her apron, as Hansel had his pockets full of pebbles. They all set out together on their way further into the forest. When they had walked for a short time, Hansel stood still and looked back at the house, and did so again and again.
Hansel, what are you looking back at? Pay attention. Do not forget how to use your legs. Oh, Father, I'm looking at my little cat sitting up on the roof. He just wants to say goodbye to me.
Fool, that is not your little cat. That is the morning sunshine on the chimney. Hansel had not been looking back at the cat. He had been throwing the white pebbles out of his pocket onto the path. When they had reached the middle of the forest, the father said,
Now, children, pile up some wood, and I will light a fire to keep you warm.
Hansel and Gretel gathered firewood together. The fire was lit, and when the flames were burning very high, the stepmother said, Now, children, lay yourself down by the fire and rest. We will go cut some wood. When we are done, we will come back and fetch you. Hansel and Gretel sat by the fire, and when noon came, each ate a little piece of bread. And as they heard the strokes of the wood axe, they believed that Father was near. They closed their eyes and fell fast asleep. When they awoke, it was already dark, and Gretel began to cry. We are all alone. How are we to get out of the forest now? Hansel tried to comfort her.
Just wait a little. When the moon rises, we will soon find the way.
When the moon had risen, Hansel took his little sister by the hand, and they followed the white pebbles that shone like new silver coins and showed them the way. They walked the whole night long, and by sunrise they had come to their father's cottage. They knocked at the door. When the stepmother opened it, she saw that it was Hansel and Gretel. You naughty children, why have you slept so long in the forest? We thought you were never coming back. The father, however, rejoiced. It had cut him to the heart to leave them behind alone. Not long afterwards, the family experienced great hardship once again. That night, the children heard their stepmother saying to their father, Everything is eaten again. We have one half a loaf of bread left, and that is the end. The children must go. We will take them even further into the forest so that they will not find their way home again. There is no other way to save ourselves. The man's heart was heavy, and he said,
It would be better for you to share that last mouthful with the children.
The woman scolded him and would not listen to anything that he had to say. He reluctantly gave in to her demands a second time. The children were still awake and overheard the conversation. When everyone was asleep, Hansel again got up and wanted to go out and pick up pebbles as he had done before. But the woman had locked the door. Hansel could not get out. He came back to bed and comforted his little sister once again.
Do not cry, Gretel. Go to sleep quietly.
Early in the morning, the woman took the children out of their beds. Their piece of bread was given to them, but it was even smaller than the time before. Hansel crumbled the bread and put it in his pocket. On the way into the forest, he threw the morsels on the ground.
Hansel, why do you stop and look round? Go on. I am looking back at my little pigeon sitting on the roof. He wants to say goodbye to me.
Fool! That is not your little pigeon. That is the morning sun shining on the chimney. Little by little, Hansel threw all the crumbs along the path. The woman led the children still deeper into the forest where they had never been before. Then a fire was again made, and the mother said, "Just sit here. When you are tired, you may sleep a little. We are going deeper into the forest to cut wood. In the evening, when we are done, we will come and fetch you." When it was noon, Gretel shared her piece of bread with Hansel, who had scattered his along the path. They fell asleep and evening passed, but no one came back for the poor children. They did not awake until it was dark. Hansel comforted his little sister.
Just wait, Gretel. When the moon rises, we shall see the crumbs of bread which I have strewn about. They will show us our way home again.
When the moon rose, they set out, but they found no crumbs. The birds that fly about in the woods must have picked them up.
We shall soon find the way.
They walked the whole night and all the next day, from morning till evening, but they did not get out of the forest and were scared and very hungry. They were so weary that their legs would carry them no longer. They lay down beneath the tree and fell asleep. The next morning they began to walk again, cold, scared, and hungry. But always they went deeper into the forest. I wonder if they knew that. When it was midday, they saw a beautiful snow-white bird sitting on a tree branch that sang so delightfully that they stood still and listened to it. And when its song was over, it spread its wings and flew away before them, and they followed it until they reached a little house. When they approached the little house, they saw that it was made of gingerbread, covered with cakes, and the windows were clear sugar. Oh boy!
We will get to work on that and have a good meal. I will eat a bit of the roof, and you can try some of the window pane. It will taste sweet.
Hansel reached up above and broke off a little of the roof to try how it tasted. And Gretel leaned against the window and licked at the pane. Can you imagine that? Then a soft voice cried from the parlor, "Nibble, nibble, nah! Who is nibbling at my little house?" They ignored the voice and went on eating. Hansel, who liked the taste of the roof, tore down a big piece of it, and Gretel pushed out a whole window pane, sat down, and enjoyed it. Suddenly, the door opened. An ugly old woman who supported herself on crutches came creeping out. Hansel and Gretel were so terribly frightened that they dropped what they had in their hands. The old woman nodded her head. "Oh, you dear children, what has brought you here? Do come in and stay with me. No harm will happen to you." She took them both by the hand and led them into her little house. She set before them milk, pancakes, apples, and nuts. After they ate, she beckoned them towards two little beds covered with clean white linens, and Hansel and Gretel laid down in them and thought they were in heaven. The old woman had only pretended to be kind. She was in reality a wicked witch who lay in wait for children. She had only built the little house of gingerbread in order to entice them there. When a child fell into her power, she trapped them and forced them to work for their keep. When Hansel and Gretel were asleep, she laughed with malice and said mockingly, "I have them. They shall not escape me." Early in the morning, before the children were awake, she was already up, and when she saw both of them sleeping and looking so pretty with their plump and rosy cheeks, she muttered to herself, "They will be perfect for all the hard work that needs to be done around here." Then she seized Hansel with her shriveled hands, carried him into a little stable, and locked him behind a grated iron door. Scream as he might, it would not help him.
Let me out! Let me out!
Then she went to Gretel and shook her till she awoke. "Get up, you lazy little thing. Fetch some water and cook something good for your brother. He is in the stable outside and has to be made fat. When he is fat, he will be very useful." Gretel began to weep bitterly, but it was all in vain. She was forced to do what the wicked witch commanded. The best food was cooked for poor Hansel, but Gretel got nothing but mushrooms. Every morning the woman crept into the little stable and cried, "Hansel, stretch out your finger so I may feel if you will soon be fat." Hansel, however, struck out his little chicken bone to her, and the old woman, who had dim eyes, could not see it. She thought it was Hansel's finger, and was astonished that he was not getting fat. When 4 weeks had gone by, Hansel remained thin. She was seized with impatience and would not wait any longer. "Now then, I will put both of you to work no matter what." Oh, how the poor little girl complained when she had to fetch water, and tears ran down her cheeks. "This is too much for me to do by myself." "Just keep your complaints to yourself. It won't help you at all." Early in the morning, Gretel had to go out and hang up a cauldron filled with water and tend to the fire. "We will bake first. I have already heated the oven and kneaded the bread dough." She pushed poor Gretel to the open oven, from which flames of fire were already darting. "Creep in and see if it is properly heated, so that we can put the bread in." But Gretel saw what she had in mind. "I do not know how I am to do it. How do I get in?" "Silly goose, the door is big enough. Just look, I can get in myself." And she crept up and thrust her head into the oven. Gretel gave her a push and shut the heavy iron door. Gretel ran like lightning to Hansel, opened the iron stable door, and cried, "Hansel, we are saved! The old witch is in the oven. We need to run before she gets out." Hansel sprang like a bird from its cage when the door was opened. They rejoiced and embraced each other, danced about and kissed each other. They quickly went into the witch's house and searched, where they found chests full of pearls and jewels. Ooh!
These are far better than pebbles.
Hansel filled his pockets with whatever he could get in. "I, too, will take something home with me." She filled her apron full.
We must run away before the witch escapes.
When they had walked for 2 hours, they came to a wide river.
We cannot cross. There is no bridge.
There is also no ferry, but a white swan is swimming there. If I ask her, she will help us across. Little swan, we're Hansel and Gretel. Will you help us get across the river? The swan came to them, and Hansel seated himself on its back and told his sister to sit behind him. "No, that will be too heavy for the little swan. She must take us across one at a time." The good little swan helped them both across. When they were safely on the other side, they walked for a time. The forest began to look more familiar to them. Soon they saw their father's cottage. Then they began to run. They pushed open the door, rushed into the parlor, and threw themselves around their father's neck. The man had not known one happy hour since he had left the children in the forest. Gretel emptied her apron until pearls and precious stones covered the floor. And Hansel threw one handful after another out of his pocket to add to them. Their hardships were now over, and they all lived together in perfect happiness. I hope you enjoyed this little story about Hansel and Gretel. Would you like to talk about how Hansel and Gretel work together to solve problems? Do you solve problems with your siblings or friends? How do you do that? What would you do if you were lost? Have you thought about that at all? Who would you go to? Who would you ask for help? What do you do when you meet a stranger who wants to help? Think about who the stranger is. Is there someone else around? You don't know that stranger either, but don't be afraid to ask for help ever. I hope you enjoy the story. Give us a big thumbs up. You know how to do that. Be sure and subscribe. We love to hear from you, and it helps the channel. You guys go out and have a good day, and remember that if you work together, you can usually solve the problem. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.